Hi children, Om Namah Shivaya, good morning. So I think you are clear with the part we learned in the last class. So what did we learn? We started with the new chapter, Anatomy of Flowering Plants, and we studied about the tissues, right? So based upon the ability to divide, tissues can be divided into two. One is meristematic and the other one is permanent tissue. And we saw that under meristematic, it can be divided into three: apical, intercalary, lateral meristem. And in permanent tissue, we can divide them into two: simple and complex. So what is the difference between meristematic and permanent tissue? Meristematic tissues are the one who have capability to divide, and permanent tissues, they will not show division, right? So that is why they will lose the ability to divide. That is why they are called as permanent tissues. And when you take the permanent tissue, it is divided as simple and complex tissue. So what is simple tissue? So these are tissues which are made up of only one kind of cell. And what is complex tissue? Tissues which are made up of more than one type of cell is called as complex tissue. And simple tissues can be divided into three. One is parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma. Okay, so let us just go through the parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma, and then we will move on to complex tissues, that is xylem and phloem. So let us see the first simple tissue, which is the sclerenchyma. Okay, so what are simple tissues? These tissues have all cells which are similar in structure and function. The structure and the function will be similar. There are three types of simple tissue. One is parenchyma. So what are these parenchymas? How are they arranged? Let us learn about it. Let us learn the functions also. So it is a major component within the organ. Okay, within a plant organ, this tissue is a major component, and these cells are generally isodiametric, and they may be spherical, oval, round, polygonal or elongated. And how are their balls? Balls are the outermost covering, right? So their balls are thin and it is made up of cellulose. Okay, and how are the cells? These cells are very closely packed like this, and if they have space between the cells, it will be very, very small. So their intercellular spaces will be very small. And what are the functions? They carry out photosynthesis, storage and secretion. So how are they helping in photosynthesis? There are chloroplasts present in some of the parenchyma cells, which will help in carrying out photosynthesis. And storage, it helps in storage of food, water and other necessary things for the plants. And secretion, it helps in secretion of certain substances like gums, resins and all those things. Okay, so this is about parenchyma. Now moving on to collenchyma. It occurs in layers below the epidermis in the dicot plants, and it is found as a homogeneous layer or in patches. Homogeneous layers are nothing but below the epidermis we can see the similar layers, same layers of collenchyma below the epidermis, and or in patches means it can be found in some places as round patches, right? And its cells have much thickened corners due to the deposition of cellulose, hemicellulose and pectin, and intercellular spaces are absent in these collenchyma. And how are their cells? They are oval, spherical or polygonal and often contains chloroplast. And what are their functions? They provide mechanical support to the growing parts such as the young stem and petiole of a leaf, and along with that, cells have chloroplast, assimilate food. So they have told in this point that it contains chloroplast, right? So and if chloroplast are there, then the food substance will be prepared and it is being used by the plants. That is why it is written as assimilate food. Okay, and now coming to the next part, which is the sclerenchyma. So it consists of long narrow cells with thick and lignified cell wall. Lignified means deposition, it is due to deposition of lignin. Having a few or numerous pits, they are usually dead without protoplast, and based on their form, structure, organ and development, it is divided as fibers and sclerites. And we saw how the structure of fibers will be and how the sclerite will be. And what is the function of the sclerenchyma? It provides mechanical support to the organs. Okay, now let us move on to the next part, children, which is the complex permanent tissue. So as the simple tissues are made of just one single cell, permanent tissues, that too the complex tissue, they are made up of more than one type of cells, or it is made up of different types of cells, and they work together as a unit. Okay, so these different cells will combine together to carry out a particular work. And there are two types of complex tissue. One is the xylem and the other one is the phloem. Okay, so xylem and phloem constitute the complex tissue in plants. Now let us learn about xylem. Okay, so what is xylem? Its main function is helping in the conduction of water and minerals from roots to stem and leaf. So it functions as a conducting tissue. For what? It helps in conducting water and minerals from the root to the stem. We know that the root is the portion which absorbs water and minerals, right? And this water and mineral is needed to every part of the plant. So the root will be conducting these water and minerals from the soil, and they will help in moving them into the conducting tissue, which is the xylem. Okay, and from the roots, water and minerals will move on to stem and leaves. And not only that, it also provides mechanical strength to the plant pots. And it is composed of 4 different kinds of elements. Right? So how is the xylem composed of? It is composed of 4 different kinds of elements. Okay, so we told that they are conducting tissues, right? So they are not just one single tissue. They are composed of 4 kinds of elements. So 4 kinds of elements together they form the xylem tissue. Okay, so what are the 4 kinds of elements? They are tracheids, vessels, xylem fibers, and xylem parenchyma. Okay, so now let us learn about each of this in detail. So we will be learning about each of these elements in detail, and we will learn how they help the xylem to conduct water and minerals. Okay, so first let us learn about the tracheids. So you can see the diagram of the tracheids, children. So this and this part is the trachea. Okay, so you can see how the xylem elements are arranged. You can see the xylem vessels, tracheids, then xylem parenchyma and xylem fibers here, right? So they are present as different layers which are surrounding the plant cell, right? Now what are these tracheids? These are elongated tube like dead cells with thick and lignified wall and tapering ends. So what is it? It is a elongated tube like dead cell. So these are all dead cells. So tracheids are all dead cells. How are they? They are elongated. You can see how it is getting elongated with thick and lignified walls. Okay, so how are their outer wall? Their outer wall is thick and lignified. Lignified means there will be deposition of the lignin. Okay, and they have tapering ends. You can see the end of this tracheids, it is tapering. Tapering means it becomes narrower in the both ends. Okay, then the protoplasm is absent. What is protoplasm? It is the cytoplasm and the nucleus together. We call it as protoplasm, which is the living component of the cell. So as they said in the beginning itself, they told that it is a dead cell, right? So the protoplasm is absent, and their inner walls of cell wall have thickenings in various forms. That is inner layer of the cell walls. So you know that cell wall is the outermost covering, and in the inner layer of the cell wall they have many they have thickenings in various forms. Okay, and tracheids and vessels are the main water transporting elements. So in the 4 different elements, these tracheids and the vessels are the one which are acting as the main water transporting elements. Okay, now let us see the next part, which is the vessel. Now let us learn about vessels, children. So you can see the vessels diagram here. So this is the vessel. Now let us see how it is and what function it does. So it is a long cylindrical tube like structure. Okay, so it is a long tube and it is cylindrical. It is not like the tracheids, it is cylindrical. You can see the difference, right? And it is made up of many cells. It is not just made up of one single cell, it is made up of many cells, right? Now, and they are called as vessel members, right? So vessels is a long cylindrical tube like structure, and it is made up of many cells which are called as the vessel members. You can see it here, right? So it is a long cylindrical tube like structure which is made up of many cells which are called as the vessel members. Now each cell has lignified wall. Again, lignified means it will have the deposition of lignin, and large central cavity. You can see the large space in the central portion of this vessel, right? So each cell has lignified wall and large central cavity, and along with that protoplasm is absent. So again it is also a dead cell. So tracheids, vessels are dead cells, and these vessels, see the next one children, vessel members are interconnected. So which are vessel members? Vessel members are nothing but these vessels are made up of many cells which are called as vessel members, and these vessel members are interconnected. What is the meaning for that? They are connected with each other. ഒന്നിനോട് ഒന്ന് അത് കണക്റ്റഡ് ആണ്. എങ്ങനെയാണ് connected? It is through perforations in their common wall. What is perforations? These small rounded structures which you see on the vessels are called as perforations, right? So vessels will contain vessel members, and they are interconnected through the perforations. Perforations are nothing but hole-like structures in their common wall. Okay, and vessel is a characteristic of angiosperms. Gymnosperms will lack vessel. So angiosperms are flowering plants and gymnosperms are the non-flowering plants, right? So like pine tree and all, they don't produce flowers. So gymnosperms will lack vessels. But angiosperms, it is a characteristic, in angiosperms, vessels is a characteristic of a flowering plant. Okay. Now let us learn about the next element, which is the xylem fibers. So they have thickened walls and obliterated central lumen. So they have highly thickened walls. You can see the walls of the fibers. These are the xylem fibers. You can see it is very thickened, and you can see the walls here, right? So they are very thickened, and the central lumens are obliterated. It means that we won't be able to correctly differentiate the central lumen because their walls will be very, very thick. Okay, so that central lumen means the empty space in the center. It will not be clearly visible in the case of the xylem fibers, and they are septate or aseptate. Okay, septate is nothing but they will have divisions like this, and aseptate we won't be seeing the divisions on their walls, right? Clear with the xylem fibers, children? Now let us move on to the next part of the xylem, which is the xylem parenchyma. So what are the xylem parenchyma? They are living and thin-walled cells. So in case of the xylem, the tracheids, vessels and the xylem fibers are non-living. It means that they are dead cells. But only the xylem parenchyma is living, and it is thin-walled cells with cellulosic cell wall. Okay, means that their cell walls are made up of cellulose, and they store food materials like starch or fat and substances like tannins. So these tannins are nothing but they are a type of chemical compound which is seen on the plants, and it gives a feeling like നമ്മളൊരു പുളിക്കുന്ന പോലത്തെ ഒരു ഫീലിംഗ് അല്ലേ നമ്മളിപ്പോൾ അൺറൈപ്പായ പ്ലമ്മോ എന്തെങ്കിലും കഴിക്കുമ്പോൾ it will be like we won't be able to eat it properly. Okay, so that substances are produced by the xylem parenchyma. Okay, and radial conduction of water takes place by ray parenchymatous cells. Radial conduction means water will be conducted, that is water and mineral is conducted in the sideways also. Okay, so that is called radial conduction.